Hello there, and welcome again to another episode of Banyo Thoughts. This is your host, Gian, and we are going to talk about failures today. So, lessons from failures, my own personal experience with failures, and why we can learn from failures. So, let's dive into the podcast. No? So, ano nga ba ang failure? No? So, if you look at the word failure, it's just basically a definition of lack of success. It can be a result of, it can be just a result or simply an attempt of being unsuccessful on something. So, and usually in failure, it's a prerequisite for success. So, kunyari sa school, you failed the math test like me. Di ako magaling sa math, so lagi ako mabagsak sa math. So, lahat tayo siguro lahat naman siguro tayo may failure sa buhay, whether it's in school, when we take exams, or in relationships, or for some maybe in business, for some maybe in our work projects. I don't know. There's so many avenues that we would have probably experienced failure. In my case, I have a lot of failures, especially when it comes to business and it comes to work or things that I wanted to do, no, when I tried to achieve my goals, no. So, and syempre nakaka-trauma. I mean, I don't know for you guys, no, maybe if you have ever had any failure, parang um magkakaroon ka ng feeling na fear of failure, na that you don't want to fail, so you want to succeed on the first try because nga ayaw mo yung feeling ng failure. And I think I understand why, no? I don't know kung makaka-relate kayo, but sa tingin ko lang, the reason why we are afraid of failing is because, one, probably we're guilty of, letting people down. That's one. Another one is maybe we're kind of relieved na hindi na natin gagawin yung big task na yun. So, that can be a feeling of failure and a feeling of fear of failure, no? You're nervous to try again. Ayaw mo nang ulitin kasi nga nervous ka lagi every time you do something new. You have anxiety, parang about the future, whether it's gonna work or hindi siya mag-work. Or like ako, for example, I think I mentioned this in the previous podcast. I failed. I felt like a failure when I lost my business of the Mystery Cafe in Baguio City, no? And that was very recent, a few months ago, and that it was a dream, the dream cafe that I've always wanted, but I wasn't able to push through it because of unforeseen circumstances naman. And now in my head, at the back of my head, it feels like a big failure because so you wanted it so much, and then hindi siya naging successful, meaning hindi siya nag-grow, hindi siya nag-expand or anything, hindi ko na continue. So since nag-stop siya, parang dating sa akin malaking failure. And in fact, I think it is really a failure on my part because there are many factors that I did not see, no. So that, and now I have anxiety of starting things again. Na I don't wanna, parang feeling ko it might become a failure again. Another reason why there's kind of fear or emotions that goes with failure is that we're kind of ashamed of failing, no, especially kung we're trying to prove ourselves to our family, to our loved ones, that we wanted to succeed but hindi nag-succeed. And I think that's one for me, no. I tried to prove to people around me that I can make this successful, but hindi nga. And another one is because very taas ang expectations natin sa sarili natin. We're kind of disappointed with ourselves because we set an expectation that this is going to happen and this is how it's going to turn out, but it didn't turn out that way. So yun. So I think those are kind of the emotions that go with when you fail. So there's kind of a fear of failing because nga you don't want to go through that, those experiences again. And I understand that, and I feel that for everyone, because it's not easy to those roller coaster of emotions to go through them. It's not very, um, you can say, it's a bit challenging, because nga you're juggling so many things in your thoughts, and you feel like nothing you do is going to be a success. But that's the reason why I wanted to share this in this podcast, and that's the reason why I wanted to talk about it, because I went through that process, and I've gone through that process, and I'm still going through the process. I don't think I'm completely over that whole roller coaster of emotions, because parang patong-patong siya over the past years. And I'm trying to analyze as well how why is there a fear of failure? Why do I have fear of failures? Why am I afraid to try new things? No, and I'm trying to understand myself better on that. No, that why did I fail in the first place, and what did I do wrong in the first place? So those are my initial thoughts, and I started reflecting about it, and during this past few months, since I closed the Mystery Cafe, and I'm trying to restart it again, and trying to restart my other startup called Experience Philippines. I try to go back to the reasons why I did not succeed doing these things in the past, and what I can do to make it successful now in the next round. When now that I have a better mental headspace to do things, what can I do to make it succeed? No, and why did I fail in the first place? So I need to find out. I think there are a couple of things that I realize, not just for myself, but I think in generally, what about the fear of failure, is that maybe we failed because it was just bad timing. That can be one of the reasons. Hindi lang talaga siya appropriate time. It wasn't the appropriate time for myself to start like a cafe, maybe. I wasn't prepared. Maybe I went into I think I went into the whole process lacking preparation. So I wasn't equipped very well. I don't know, maybe the conditions of for success is not in place, meaning the tools that I would need to make it successful were not in place. I think majority of it would be lack of knowledge. Because my personality is, and my character is, I think my character is I'm always a risk taker, and I jump into things. I'm very impulsive when it comes to that. So maybe because of the lack of knowledge, and maybe I guess also the feeling ko na alam ko na yan, na mindset na hindi naman pala. So kaya you jump into something without full knowledge of things. Another, maybe because we don't give it time, meaning hindi tayo tuloy-tuloy. The moment nagkaroon ng bottleneck, the moment nagkaroon ng challenge, we give up. I give up. So those are things there. Those are the thoughts that entered in my head. Why actually generally we fail, no? So because it's some of them, it's maybe externally out of our control, because nga circumstances or the environment is not conducive for it. But I think majority of it is because of internal, the internal environment, what our headspace contains, what our expectations are, how maybe our knowledge and our grit, or our desire to make things work are there. So in my case, and I realize, I think one of the areas that I pinpointed na kulang ako is focus and grit. I was only, kumbaga kung kaya ko na 100%, I was only giving 80%, meaning I wasn't exhausting all possibilities to make the things work. Like for example, in the cafe, I wasn't exhausting all the possibilities to make it work, or figuring things out to make it work. That's how I felt. No, that's how I looked at it, because parang feeling ko I was a bit, yun nga, masyadong sigurista, or sigurado na it's gonna work, it's gonna be like this. When it wasn't really the case, no. So, and I think that's the lesson that I learned there, really at the very kumbaga, at the very end was really humility, no? That um that we don't know everything, and that if the external environment is also like that, we cannot, we can't blame ourselves naman as well. Um, so what did I what are the lessons that I drew from this, no? What kind of lessons can we draw from this? There's a lot. There's a lot of lessons that we can actually learn from this. And one thing is, trying is better than not trying. Yung looking at it in the other perspective, na I proceeded with the project. I proceeded with doing these things. And despite of the challenges of starting them, although hindi nga lang siya nag-work, but I did try something. That's for me. That's parang nakaka-boost ng confidence rin na I tried. I did something, because generally, many times people give up. People um first try, they don't do anything, or they, because of the fear of being judged or the fear of failure, they never tried anything at all. So what happens is that they just live a very mediocre life, no? So and then I think that's probably what we shouldn't be doing, no? Because otherwise, because I know that all of us have goals, and all of us have dreams, and all of us have want to be to accomplish something, whether it is for work, or whether it's for our family, and whether it's for our business, whether it's for our relationships, um, for ourselves, and many of these goals we will encounter challenges, and we will encounter difficulties. But the moment we decide not to take in, meaning it's going to be more difficult, or we come up with excuse that we won't do it, or because of the fear of failure, is wala, nothing's gonna happen in our lives, because we will always come up with an excuse na why we don't want to do something, you know? And then at the end of the day, we feel guilty na walang nangyayari sa buhay natin, or walang movement sa buhay natin. So my suggestion really, I'm not a good example of it, but from my recent experience ko with losing this business, and I've lost a lot, no? I mean, I've spent so much money, and I lost so much money already. That the una, sige, sabihin natin naramdaman mo na yung feeling na yun, na okay, you're a failure. You feel like you're not good enough. You're think wala ka talagang kwentang tao. Parang ganun. I think the way we can work this out is or at least and from now that my experience is embracing failure. Like, I accepted it. Na I did something, and that something didn't work out, and there are consequences of that, and I own that, and it's my responsibility. I 100% own everything that has happened, and I will take responsibility for the failure. Rather than blaming someone else, rather than magmumukmok ako sa tabi, or magwawalwal ako, or whatever. I will accept all the responsibilities, and I accept that it was my fault, kahit na majority, some of them hindi, but I will accept it for myself. So I try not to embrace myself in that failure. So that's one step that I did in looking at the recent failures that I've had, and analyzing also the failures that happened over the years of my life. That majority of it is my fault. So that's why I have to, one, embrace the failure, and second, not to be afraid of failing again. So to try again. So because now that I learned that failure is coming from, the fear of failure is coming from, I think, insecurities that you have in yourself, that you have this fear that, yun nga, sabi ko, you're not good enough. And those are limiting beliefs. So because I agreed, because there's trauma. There's, nga, sabi ko kanina, because there's guilt, there's anxiety, there's shamefulness, there's parang feeling we don't want to disappoint someone. So all those things are in the back of your head. Um, so that's pretty good that it's happening, because nasa surface yung mga insecurities mo, nasa surface yung limiting beliefs mo, and now that it comes to light, now you can actually look at it objectively. That why do you have these things, and going back to the mention kanina, why do you fail, is because probably there's lack of knowledge, because of it was maybe it's an environmental thing, or maybe because I don't know, there's a lot of can say limiting beliefs that you have. And when this all comes out, pwede mo na siyang himayin. Pwede mo na siyang i-face. Pwede mo na siyang i-check na, okay, so kung ganito pala yung gagawin ko, what if I do this? Like, for example, ngayon, I know that one of the biggest mistakes that I have when it comes to, or one of the big mistakes that I made during the time when I started the Mystery Cafe is, thinking too big, like thinking very grand. So I went all in to something very big. And the lesson there is, now love the small things, like the small victories. So work on the small activities first. Like, isa sa I don't know, lumalabas yung pagka Chinese, pero ang inisip ko lang kasi, kahit na konti lang yung kita, basta mali na benta na tuloy-tuloy, okay yan, kasi at least may pumapasok na pera. So yun inisip ko na parang gano'n, kahit na magbenta ka na muna ganito lang, eto na yung gawin mo na small things. You don't have to invest on big equipments. You don't have to invest on renting out the place. Just do, like now, for example, mag-online selling muna ako ng products that we used to have with the Mystery Cafe, and then start from there and build the brand first there. From there, yun ang strategy ko ngayon. So that gave me enough strength, no, na, oh, okay, sige, let's try this one, and let's try to push myself, to be better doing that, even if it's a small thing, no. And I guess yun nga, I think at the end of the day, we just have to constantly acknowledge that we were always going to have fears. Hindi mawawala yung fear na we will always be afraid of failing. But the awareness, that the self-awareness there, and I discussed this already in the self-awareness podcast, is that even though we have this fear, it's just a matter of being aware of where it's coming from, what we can do to overcome that fear. Either we do, I think the best way is really to journal, or to meditate, or just to plan things out pretty well. We increase our knowledge. I think knowledge, especially when it comes to certain projects, like in my case now, so Mystery Cafe and Experience Philippines, I'm trying to gain more knowledge before I jump into to bigger things, and so that I'll be more equipped and I can face more. If issues happen, I can be more. I'm ready to face all these challenges. No, so life is really constantly changing, and you have to remember that your past experiences, failures, do not define your future. In fact, you can learn. We all can learn from our past mistakes and use that knowledge to make better decisions in the future. No, so. Just fear is just a natural emotion. And yun ang difference ng mga people who are successful, no, with people who are not successful, is because people who are successful, they feel it. They feel fear of failure, but they still choose to take action. So they still make a move, kahit na may ganun sila ramdaman, or kahit na may ganun silang takot, no. So one tip that I'm trying to do as well, maybe you can also learn from it, is you can go around, check those who are successful around you, and and emulate them, and see, and learn from them. Maybe ask them to become your mentor, so that you have a better grasp of, especially people who are successful. They've gone through a lot, so maybe you can get ideas, or maybe you can get inspirations or feedback from them on how to deal with, with the fear of failure. No, so I think that's really the generally, the life lessons of really failure. No, like, you know there's this, if you have you ever read, I don't know if you ever read the book about, the chicken soup for the soul. If you ever encountered that book, see, I remember my mom used to have like series of those books sa library namin sa bahay. And in one of those books, Jane, the same as Jack Canfield, yeah, Jack Canfield. So Jack Canfield mentioned in one of the lines is, everything you want is on the other side of fear, really. Then that really makes sense, no? Because really, at the end of the day, the reason why we have comfort zones is because we're just don't wanna be, you just don't wanna, you just wanna be feel safe, and safe is not gonna bring us that's not gonna bring us our goals. It's not gonna bring us to where we want to be. So kaya tama sabi niya na everything you want is on the other side of fear. And I think naman siguro sino to, si Thomas Edison, 'di ba? Si Thomas Edison, 'di ba sinabi niya, ano 'yun? Yung sa light bulb, 99, ano yun? Sabi niya, I have not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So that it's just, I guess it's just a matter of testing things, no? So yun. So that's about it for this podcast, and I hope you guys learned a thing or two about lessons in failure, and I hope that my sharing about my own experiences with failure would also inspire you to to look at the other side of the fear of failure, that it will just be a test of our grit, no, of our desire to become successful. So that's about it for this episode, and thank you very much for listening to this podcast. And if you like this episode, please do share it on your social media. You can follow me here in Spotify. And again, thank you, and have an amazing day ahead.